What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining us on the Applied Podcast today. And we have a special guest with us, Pastor Blake Harkup with Bedrock Church. We are so glad that you're here.
Yeah,
and we just, nothing crazy, man. We just want to dig a little deeper about you.
Okay.
And
Sounds
just,
good.
the history of the church, maybe some, the Liberty University days, and just kind of where we're at today and where you see us going in the future. And we're excited just to be here with you. So before we even jump in, there's a lot of people probably that are going to be watching this or, that don't know who you are. So why don't you just kind of give us a little history of, I was a high school kid, just stupid, and to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. So I was born and raised here in Sarasota, lived in a non-Christian home. And so didn't grow up in Christianity, started going to youth group right around like late 15, 16, right in there. And really just went because I liked the kids. I liked everyone that was there, but it wasn't like a spiritual thing. And kind of when I got there, I think Christianity started to like click here, but not here. I think it was more behavior modification. And then really like things did not click fully where I say I got saved. I was kind of in process in high school and, but then got saved in college, and God did an amazing work there. I ended up going to Liberty University, not to go into ministry originally. It was honestly to just not go to school in Florida. So kind of went up there. Originally I was thinking about going to law school, things like that. And then God got a hold of my life up there. My wife is actually from Sarasota as well, Kelsey, but we didn't start dating till my senior year of college at Liberty. So we knew each other. She was part of that youth group that I went to. But we hung out, but we weren't like close friends, and then grew closer together senior year of college. And we've been married. It will be, depending on when this airs, 15 years. We have 4 kids, and depending on when this airs too, they're currently, as I'm talking right now, they're 12, 11, 8, and 6. But soon it will be 13, 11, 9, and 7.
Somebody's birthday is tomorrow, right?
As we're recording this, tomorrow, that's why I'm getting confused.
Yeah.
So, someone's birthday's tomorrow, and then 10 days later, someone else's birthday. So,
awesome.
Yeah, we have a lot happening here.
So, you and your wife, hold on, I got another question.
Sure.
So, you went to Liberty, not even thinking or planning to go into ministry.
Yeah, no.
So, what were you, what classes were you taking when
I just took the normal classes. So part of Liberty's curriculum is everyone takes theology. Everyone takes New Testament, Old Testament survey. We take a class on evangelism as well. So it's like part of like the core curriculum that you take. There's 2 theology courses, Old Testament, New Testament, and then evangelism. And then one called Christian Worldview. Yep. I don't know what they call it now, but when I was there, that's what it was. Yeah. And so I got into those, and honestly, I was like really interested in things. I was really like, that piqued my interest, and then God just got a hold of my heart there. Yeah. So I think what I realized is I knew who God was. I had some things in my life had changed. I understood kind of how to fit in Christianity. I kind of knew what was expected. Yeah. But looking back and seeing when God really saved me, rescued me, and that heart change, as my life was perfect after that, but my heart changed. It happened in college. And so that's where the shift happened. In fact, my dad, when I first went to Liberty, told me, just promise me you won't become a pastor. And I was like, yeah, no way. There's no way. So, and even as I went into seminary, my first year of seminary, I started to go through a little bit of a season of doubt, where I was kind of saying, hey, if I'm going to commit my whole life to ministry in this, I really got to be sure this is right. Yeah. I really got to sure I understand this. And then, so that journey for me was about a year, a little bit longer. And then once I got that down, I really haven't dealt with doubt and things like that. But there was a season. It was just hey, I'm going into my seminary years. I believe I'm being called to be a pastor. Church planting wasn't on the table yet then. Yeah. And I just thought, man, I really need to be sure that this is right and that I believe this if I'm going to commit my life to this. And so it was kind of maybe what a lot of people go through is they get saved early on in life, or they grow up in a Christian home. They know God here, but then they get saved. They know God here, but then there's kind of like that season of figuring things out. It's not like they lost their salvation or anything. They're just figuring it out.
Yeah.
I kind of went through that my first year of seminary. I actually ended up getting a scholarship to go back to my undergrad, my first year of seminary, to do some pre-med courses. I thought I might go into medicine at that point. And then just graciously, God just through that whole season, closed the door on medicine. I just figured out that's not what I'm called to do. Sometimes the most gracious thing that God can do is let you go down a road that he just closes the door there eventually. And I don't need to go down that road anymore. And then I just went full force into ministry stuff.
Now, was there a defining moment that you can remember? Like, we're talking in college before, you knew that this is where you were being called to do, or just before even your relationship with Christ. Was there a defining moment of just...
Yeah, for me, I think it was more like there were like epiphanies that happened, right? Like, oh, whoa, yeah. So like when I started to hear about God and Jesus in high school, I think that there was some like a click on in my mind about, okay, God and Jesus and all of that. But, we always talk about you need to make Jesus Lord and Savior, right? And so I had started to get to know God, but I don't think I really, I even like prayed the prayer and, ended up getting baptized when I was like 16, right in there. But I think it was just, I was coming into a relationship with God, starting to realize things. I don't think I had given myself fully over to him, but we do this in church and it's not a bad thing, but it's like, hey, okay, you raised your hand today. You said that prayer today. Okay, well, your next step's baptism then.
Right.
And I don't know if there was like a ton of discussion on that. I think it's like you can know something up here theoretically, but not really know that thing. Mm-hmm. I think that's what kind of I experienced in high school. Okay. And so, it wasn't bad. It's not a bad thing. It probably kept me out of a ton of trouble. In fact, it did,
right.
And kept me on going in the right path. And I was around a community of people that was helping me there. But when I got to college, I think there's just this epiphany moment that I know God here, but I don't really think I know him here. I don't think I haven't made him Lord and Savior, really. Right. And then I made that transition. And then that's when things change for me, I think, in a lot of ways. So I think the thing with Christianity is like, because we make so much of it behavior modification, we can make a lot of external like goalposts for people to go, oh yeah, they're definitely saved or whatever because they did this or don't do this now.
Right.
That's somewhat just behavior modification. What we see the gospel does is not just changes our behavior. Our behavior does change though. It's really heart transformation. We're transformed, right? Yeah. And so it's not just that we're trying to behave now, it's that we've been transformed internally and now our behavior follows that. Now, are we perfect after we get saved? Does all of that work? Do we still not struggle with the flesh and fall short? No, absolutely not. Nope. But so I think that's something that I kind of experienced growing up.
It's almost like, the way, I look at it is like, the right thing to do, but then there comes a time of where you want to do the right thing. Yeah, that's true. Right?
Yep.
So you're in college, your senior year rolls around. Mm-hmm. You're at lunch, you meet Kelsey. Like, what's going on? How does this relationship strike?
So we knew each other. Kelsey and I share the same birthday. So that was like kind of like our biggest connection point. In fact, as I was in that youth group, every year on our birthday, I'd call her at like 6:15 in the morning, and I'd be one of the first people to say happy birthday to her. And so that kind of like became this little tradition that we had. I just didn't know anyone who had the same birthday as me. And then I went off to Liberty a year before her, started dating people, kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life, like all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, most people know this, but I was previously engaged. I ended up breaking off that engagement. I think it was my junior year. I'm terrible with time frames. So you'll hear me say it like when I preach, I'll be like a few months ago, and it's like 5 years ago. So I don't think that way, I guess. But no, I mean, so Kelsey and I think it was I was going into my senior year of college. I'd broken off that engagement. And And it was,
and how long were you with that girl for?
I think like 2 years, like dated for a year, engaged for a year.
Yeah.
And that's like a whole nother story. But it was like this moment where we broke off the engagement. It was mutually broken off. And then I came down here for the summer, just to kind of like reset life a little bit and figure that out. And then it was during that summer that Kelsey invited me to a baseball game with her family. And like when you go to college, your friends kind of shift a little bit, life kind of shifts a little bit. And so Kelsey, our friend Sarah, myself, and then Kelsey's parents went to a Tampa Bay Rays game. And then after that game, we started talking. We were just catching up. She was dating a guy. I had just broken off an engagement. I think she was dating a guy she wasn't so sure about. So she was kind of like, how did you know? Like, that kind of thing. And then that conversation just grew. And I feel like we both describe it as like the veil was lifted, like on our eyes and in our minds. And then it was like, oh, I could kind of date her. And, oh, she was like, I could marry him. And I was like, I can marry her. If what she's saying is true, I can marry her. And I think if what I was saying was true, she was like, I can marry him. And the thing was we weren't looking to date. It's just we were two friends talking. And I had gone through an experience that she was interested in, like that thought process. So it was an super innocent conversation. But I think it's like there that like the light switch kind of clicked on. We didn't start dating right away. We talked a lot. But I also didn't want to be that guy that, she had this boyfriend that she wasn't sure about. And there was one night I just told her, I was like, hey, we're talking a ton. And I know we're old friends, but like, I don't want to be the guy talking to another guy's girlfriend. So, there's no pressure. I'm not trying to date you right now or anything, but I don't want to just be talking to you while you have a boyfriend. Right. Because it feels like we're talking a little too much.
Right.
And so after that relationship ended pretty quickly. And then we dated for a while. We waited a little bit. We were hanging out. Life was good. Then we dated. So we dated for a year, engaged for a year. I would say engagement for a year is way too long. And then married now 15 years. So, wow. Really, really incredible story. But that's how Kelsey and I met. It was in the summer here. And we knew each other. We were buddies and friends. But, didn't start dating until my senior year of college, her junior year.
That's cool. That's a good story. So you're in college. Now, you took part of a church planning group. What was that
like? How did I get involved?
How did you get involved in the church?
So in my undergrad, I did a program called Pastoral Leadership and Biblical Exegesis. So what I realized is there's a lot to study in the Bible, to do it well. Yeah. And I really had zero background in that. When I was taking these Old Testament or New Testament background courses, a lot of this was fresh to me. Like I knew the story of Moses. I knew a little bit about Abraham, not much. When you're talking like the big hitters, I kind of knew that stuff. Yeah. But I really didn't know anything. Your standout So I was kind of coming into faith and Christianity really like able to make it my own. I didn't have any baggage of like, well, this is what my church used to do. And like I was just part of a youth group. Right. And then I would go to church, but I wasn't really, my parents weren't there. My family wasn't there. So it was like, I was kind of there on my own. And so I'm just hanging out with people essentially. But that church was pivotal in like helping me for sure. Yeah. But then, so I go through all these courses, and that's when I decided like, hey, I think I want to be a pastor. I think I'm called to be a pastor. I was like, man, I really need to learn how to study the Bible. So I did theology. I did a BA, so it was a Bachelor of Arts, and not a Bachelor in Science. And I did some really interesting stuff. But basically, I focused on pastoral leadership courses, like leadership courses in general, and then I did like 5 semesters of Greek to learn like original languages. I tell people I'm not an expert in Greek. I know enough to be dangerous, but not an expert. And I let other people who love the languages and stuff do that. Yeah. Hebrew is a whole nother like ball game. Yeah. But yeah, so I did that, and then I realized, so after I graduated undergrad, I felt like, okay, I feel like I have some tools to help me study the Bible, but now I need to like kind of learn how to lead people. So I did my first master's was in discipleship, like making disciples. So I thought, okay, great. I know how to study the Bible now. Now I need to focus on how to make disciples. Yeah. And then I finished my MDiv in like more pastoral leadership or practical ministries, I think is what, I don't remember the name of it. And then go ahead.
So real quick, so I'm just trying to paint a picture of your family and where you're at in college. So by this time, you are
married in grad school. I think we got married after my first year of grad school, or we were married in my first year of grad school. Okay.
And Kelsey's still in college.
Kelsey's done with college. I don't know, man. It's the time frame. I know the year.
Yeah.
But it's 2010. It had to be. I was in my first year of seminary. So I was in my first year of seminary dealing with doubt. We were married at that point. Yeah. That was our first year of marriage. So Kelsey's working now. She's in the story where we are now, she's a kindergarten teacher at a private school in Virginia. And then I'm a grad assistant during my time at Liberty. During my master's level stuff, I was a grad assistant. Okay. And then I worked for the co-founder of Liberty. His name's Elmer Towns. I worked for him for years. It was a really great experience. Got to do a lot of great, really cool things. He's still alive, and he's in his 90s now, and just awesome man of God. And then after I finished my second master's, which was at MDiv, then I went into my doctorate in ministry, and I focused a lot on leadership. And we talked about, like, my end of my project for my doctoral degree was on a digital media strategy for prolonged absences. We used Bedrock as a case study during COVID of how we were able to reach people through online stuff.
I started reading it yesterday.
Oh,
cool. I found it online.
Yeah, it's on there somewhere. Yeah, it's interesting. So what we were just trying to give is other pastors and ministries a toolbox to use to help reach people online. Yep. And we used I used a model of the New Testament epistles as how to disciple people from distance. Right. So a lot of the letters written in the New Testament are Paul or others writing back to people that they're not with currently, discipling them. And so I said, hey, there's actually this model biblically for how to disciple people when you're not just able to be with them in the room, when it's a prolonged absence and there's distance. And I said, so that's a biblical model that this exists. So how do we take that model now and apply that in a COVID-like world? Right. And how can the church continue to move forward in the mission at a distance? And so it was then contextualizing, we could write letters to the church, or we can use digital media, social media stuff, videos, podcasts, sermons online, all that kind of stuff to continue the mission forward. So we just said, hey, currently here's some best practices for how to do that. Some of that data's, I'm sure, outdated now with how quickly the algorithms and stuff change. Oh my gosh, I'm sure. So we just tried to give them a strategy on how they could do that and what worked for Bedrock. Yeah.
Isn't it crazy how what we're doing right now, it turned into church for such a long period of time. Oh yeah. During that season, being in upstate New York at that time, we were on lockdown forever and a day. It seemed like. Yeah. You guys in Florida,
it was different. We as soon as we could go back to meeting, we did. We got a little like hybrid model going. Like we wouldn't put out chairs. We moved from a chapel to a gym. We grew over COVID, and we just wanted to let people make the decision they wanted to make. That we were, within what we needed to do. And so in the gym, we would put out no chairs. And when people came in, we'd say, grab your own chair and do whatever you want now. Yeah. Like if you want to sit next to people, great. If you don't, we were probably like 70 people at that point. So maybe we were between like 50 and 70 people we were Saturday night only. And so people just come in, they could grab their chair. If they want to sit with their family, they could. And if they wanted to sit far away, they could. If they wanted to wear a mask, they could. If they didn't want to wear a mask, they could. Like we just kind of let people use their discernment. And what we noticed during that time was nobody who was wearing a mask was being chased by someone who wasn't. Right. Like people just respected those choices. You don't have to agree with the choice they're making, but you can be respectful. Right. In that season. And so, so that's how we handled that during that time.
So you finished college, you moved to Florida, or moved.
I hadn't finished my doctoral degree yet. So I had finished my coursework for a doctoral program, but I was in the writing phase. So, and I, because of like coming down here, planting the church, doing all of that, we shifted my thesis topic or my topic for my final, paper to the COVID issue stuff, because it was just why like do all of this work that we're doing over here to try to help reach people, and there's so much effort during that season. Why do that on one side and then not use it? Right. And so I was in the writing phase when I was down here, and then I don't know how long it took me, to be honest. I think I finished it like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah.
But when you moved down here, when you came back to Florida, was was Bedrock already kind of the mission? Did you know that you were going to?
Yeah, when we moved down here, so like just briefly to summarize the story, my last like summer/semester, because we left at like Christmas time. Yep. Kelsey and I had started to feel like our time at Liberty, although we loved it and I still work for them. The way that we were there, that season was coming to an end. Yeah. And that was scary. And, Liberty's a great place to work. And, we were seeing a lot of success there. But I had started to feel more the urge to church plant, which came in my grad school era. And then, we were looking at different places to plant. And then once we felt like our season was coming to an end, other churches started calling us. It was just kind of a really confusing time. But we knew that we were like being called out of Liberty. And then kind of like everything led us to come back here. There's like a series of they're fortunate now. They were unfortunate then. Like the overtime laws changed in the Obama administration. Yeah. So we found out that like over probably 60% of my pay at Liberty was going to disappear. Wow. So it was like, well, we can't do that. So then it was like, all right, we felt called to go home and plant a church. So let's go. Now's the time. Yeah. So through all of that, that's how we got. So when we moved down here, the goal was to plant a church. It wasn't named Bedrock at that time. We're part of the Bedrock Church Planting Network, which is church plants up in the area that we went to and attended, helped with in Virginia, but we didn't have to be called Bedrock. So we were trying to figure that out. But man, like probably the first year coming down here, we were kind of licking our wounds a little bit. Like, we had left a town that we had lived in for years. We had left really great friends, a great church, a really good job. And so, yes, we felt like we needed to come and, plant a church, but we kind of had to get our feet under us for about a year. And then after that year, then we spent a year building the team, doing pre-launch stuff. And then the year after that, like, we launched. So I think we've been down here 2025. Jude was born. I think we've been down here 8 years or 9 years back. Bedrock is 6. Yeah. So that's I think the time frame for all that. I don't remember.
It happened so fast.
On my way here to do the interview. Yeah. I was like, "What year did Bedrock launch?" I was talking to Kelsey about it, and because I was like, I think he's going to ask like questions on that. And I was like, what year? I know it's like 18, 19, like in there. Somewhere on that. And then COVID happened. And like, when was COVID? COVID's now almost 6 years old, 5 years old. Like, it's crazy.
It seems like forever ago too, man.
Yeah. So Bedrock launched in 2019, February of 2019.
Yeah. So a church of 25,
Yeah. I mean, we had preview services of about like 75. Yep. About 75 was the peak that we hit during previews. We did those, I think, through August through December-ish, launched in February. And then, man, I mean, I think on our first launch day, everyone has a bigger first launch day. Yeah. So we might have, I don't know what we had. I don't remember. Yeah. But, quickly it dwindles down. And so, we got like settled in around 20 to 25, about 25 people. A lot of that was our family. Saturday nights, 5:30 p.m., I think it was, downtown Main Street, Sarasota. And, yeah, and we were in the process of being more supported by Bedrock. We had some savings, not a lot, so we had to scrounge some money together. So we would say it was like 25 people and like $2,500 is what started Bedrock. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like a year later or 6 months later, we got picked up by the North American Mission Board and sent Florida, and we became a church plant with them, and more support came in, and then more support from Bedrock Church Network came in, things like that. But
helped out a lot.
It was a little tough at the beginning, but God was good. He provided, and then we ended up, there was one Saturday night I remember really vividly. It was my daughter was really sick. It's when we found out that she had celiac disease. She was 3. So Kelsey took her to the hospital. It was like after 3 events of like this weird, she would get sick like once a month, really sick. She'd like fall asleep in the shower. She was so like overwhelmed. So once it happened the 3rd time, we're taking her to the hospital. We got to figure out what's going on. And so Kelsey's at the hospital with Scout, finding out what's going on.
This is a service night too,
Service night, Saturday night.
Yeah.
I go to service, and I think like that night we had like 14 or 15 people.
Just like
it was just a kick in the face.
Yeah.
We always say like, numbers aren't the primary objective, but like when we were trending in the wrong direction, there was like 12 or 15 people there. I was like, am I going to get on a stage and preach to 12 to 15 people? I was texting Kelsey. I took a picture. I wonder if we have that picture somewhere. I don't know, but
that would be cool.
She's like, how's it going? And I was like, this is how it's going. I think I was running sound that night because we didn't have like a sound person, and I don't know. It was just bad. And I texted her, and she's like, well, just get down and preach to 15 people then. That's what it, like, give them the gospel, preach to them.
Yeah.
And I didn't preach on stage that night. I didn't use a mic. I just got on the floor, stood on the floor, and we just like talked. And so I'd say that was like the most edge of the knife, on the cliff moment for Bedrock. And it was hard to bounce back from that, but we did. I mean, then we grew. We got up to like 50, 60 people total.
Yeah.
And then COVID hit.
And there had to have been some doubt in all that, right? I mean, here you are.
Yeah, man. I mean, there was a night, Kelsey and I were in bed. We were like maybe doing preview services. And I think everybody has dreams like, oh, this is going to explode or whatever,
right.
That kind of thing. And that's why I love talking to young church planters. Like, hey, just keep moving forward. Keep plowing the field. Like, yeah, maybe that's going to happen and maybe not. That doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong. And but there was like a night, I don't know, we were still in preview service times, but I looked over at Kelsey, and we were talking about the church plant, and I was like, hey, what if this doesn't work?
Yeah.
And it's kind of the first time we verbalized, like, what if this doesn't work?
Yeah.
And I don't know, I've had moments like that in my life, like even leaving on the sabbatical. I'm like, I thought like on Monday of this week, so I leave tomorrow.
Yeah.
As we're recording this, I leave tomorrow. Like on my daughter's birthday, I leave it late at night. So we're pulling her out of school and spending the whole day with her. But, I was like, what if this goes bad? What if like the church falls apart? And I think it's those moments that you have to see the fear that's in front of you and go, okay, well, God's got that.
Yeah. And
I think planting and what we went through has allowed for us to look at things and go, like, okay, that's okay. Like, we're going to make it. And it's those moments where you go through stuff in life that somehow you figure out ways to get through them, and that God's going to have you through those tough times. But you got to go through tough times.
You have
I always say everyone wants a miracle until they need a miracle.
Yep.
And I think that's true, like in anything that you do in life, whether it's planting a church or a business or, whatever people are doing here, there's going to be hard days, but those days develop you to deal with hard days in the future.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think that was kind of our process there, but it wasn't What we see now is we have on our serve team on Sundays, we have more people on serve teams than we had for probably like the first almost year of the church.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we gave away last year double our first year budget in benevolence. This last year we gave away more money than was our entire budget our first year.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't make any money. We weren't paid. I mean, there was a lot. It was a lot.
God's done some amazing things, man. That is for sure. And we go back. This church, it started with 25 people, and I would say, just from the guy that counts, I would say on an average we're probably at a good 300 to 400 people here on a Sunday.
Yeah.
I mean, just last week alone we had between both services 427 people, which is
amazing,
like crazy, man.
Yeah.
So I mean, so these are wins, right? So what do you attribute that to? Obviously we do to God, right? He is in the midst of it all.
Yeah.
But as far as like the functionality of everything going on, what do you kind of attribute?
So like sometimes we mentor and talk to church planters, right? And just try to help, because we're kind of like I was talking to a young adults group the other night, and I was like, hey, we're still a church plant. We're 6 years old, but we're also kind of like a more established church at this point. And what do I attribute that to? Solely God. I mean, because we didn't do like the launch big, launch loud lights and all this. We didn't do that. Probably because like part of me didn't feel confident in that, but also, I don't know. I think I just needed to see that God was really in this.
Yeah.
And that this is what God wanted me to do and us to do. But I'll tell you, I think what helps, all right, is unapologetically preaching the Word of God. And that's something we've done from the beginning.
Yeah.
So
that's what drew me and my wife here.
Yeah.
It's just,
it's
for
the
sure.
preaching, like the preaching of the Word, but not just like, because you can have guys that do that it's like you're getting nailed into the ground every week.
Yeah.
So we always say we want to call people up, not call people out. And sometimes calling them up is calling them out, right? But we want you to move forward, right? We want it to not be condemnation. We want it to be conviction. We want it to be conviction moves you forward. Condemnation presses you down.
Yeah.
And so, I think preaching and teaching of God's word unapologetically. And I think we do like a mixture. We'll go straight through books. Then we do what we call topogetical preaching, where it's like a topic, like we're going to do a series on mental health. There's not a book in the Bible that is like, here, just mental health stuff. So what we'll do in those situations is we'll preach on a topic, but we'll preach through passages on that topic in different areas. So it's still exegetical. It's just not straight through a book. And then, so I think that's one. I think two is when you really do care about people for who they are and not what they do, that's big.
Yep.
And so I think relationship is really big in people knowing you and you knowing them.
Right.
Especially when you're smaller. I think that relational ministry is like enormous.
Groups,
but just you, like the leaders knowing people.
Yeah.
And I couldn't be a part of every group, but
no.
Taking time to greet people, know people, find out their name, help them, whatever you need to do in that sense. And Nick, now we're moving into like a moment where I can't always do that. And so I'm internally wrestling and we're internally wrestling with how do we do that? But I can't be the hinge point of Bedrock, because Bedrock's not about me. It's about God and the mission of the church, right? Big C Church.
Yeah.
And so there's parts of it that's bittersweet, but it should kind of be moving in this direction that people aren't here just because of me or because of Kelsey. They aren't just here for my teaching. Why do you go to Bedrock? Because of the vision that God has given Bedrock. We're on vision and mission with Bedrock and what God's doing.
Yeah.
And so it needs to grow beyond Kelsey and I, and really to be a functioning community that Kelsey and I are a part of and that we're leading.
Yeah.
But not like, I go because of this or because of Pastor Blake or whatever. That's something we want to try to avoid.
Yeah.
Because like if I leave and planning on leaving. But if, there may be a day, I imagine there'll be a day when I'm not here.
Well, I mean, we're all not going to be here.
But even before I die, I imagine that there'll be a day.
You think so?
I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know for sure, but I mean, I'm fully committed here now. I'm not looking anywhere else or anything like that, but you never know what God's going to do. Yeah. But if I were to ever leave or die or whatever, Bedrock should flourish and move forward.
Yep.
And if we're not trying to build something like that, then what are we? Then it's like my kingdom, not his kingdom.
Right.
So, I mean, that's even part of the thing that I'm excited about with this sabbatical. For 6 weeks, 7 weeks, there's going to be a different voice.
Not only a different voice, man, but I think it goes to a testament of your leadership too, right? So you leaving, if the church, if something does not go as perfectly or as well, I mean, I think it's a reflection of the leadership. You've put people in places, in positions in this church where it should flow as if you were here, even though you're not going to be
and
here.
And we believe in that team, like wholeheartedly. So that helps too. Like we have a great team of people that I think have caught the vision of like people matter more for who they are than what they do, that like we're going to be a ministry that ministers to people. It's not just numbers, but numbers are names, and names matter, and because they represent people. But to reach the city, to be innovative, to like all of these things, I really do feel like we have a leadership team and staff now that like can do that.
They're bought in.
And that allows us to go. So we're super thankful for the team that God's put here, because otherwise, what do we do?
Yeah.
And so, but I really attribute fully what's happened here to God.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let me ask you, you're leaving for 7 weeks.
Yeah. I'm 7, Kelsey's 6.
Yep. What is, this is a vulnerable question.
Yeah.
What is your biggest fear of why you're gone?
Oh, okay.
I mean, this is your baby.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I mean, you were here from day one.
Yeah.
And you really haven't left for this period of time ever before. So there's got to be something in your stomach that is just like...
Yeah, I mean, I think suffering.
Yeah.
I think most parents worry about their kids suffering.
Yeah.
Like if you like kind of get down.
Yeah.
Right? So, like I think we have people of high character here. So it's not like I don't foresee... I'm praying there's no like big moral failure in one of the staff or something while we're gone. I think we have people who are bought into really what's happening here, not just in Blake and Kelsey, but what's happening at our church.
Yeah.
So I don't think, I mean, some people will leave and some people will come and visit and not come back and stuff like that. But I think like something happening and the church is suffering and we're not here to help. I think that's like a legitimate, I think that's a legitimate concern.
Yeah.
Like, like, okay, what if we get a hurricane while I'm gone and then we're not here to help?
Yeah.
That's going to be hard. So I think like as a parent, it's kind of like our kids are going away, or going to like to a summer camp or something. And like you just can't be there to intervene, but that's when like we didn't build this church in the first place. So God's got that, and that's where we have to activate that faith. Because I think the enemy's going to whisper fear. Like I woke up this morning at 4 a.m. literally this morning thinking about kids camp. I was thinking about we have some amazing things coming for kids camp.
Oh, it's going to be awesome.
I mean, but we're going big.
Yeah.
And why? Because we want to reach families. We want people who are far from God to come in to the family of God. And so we're going to use kids camp, not only just to reach the next generation, but hopefully we can reach families. And so I don't think we're ready to announce it. I'm not going to announce it on this podcast.
I don't think we should.
But like what we're doing at kids camp is big.
Yeah.
And it's bigger than just like what's happening here. And I'm going to be gone for the entire preparation of that camp essentially.
Yeah.
So I think like I woke up this morning thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like woke up at 4 a.m. thinking about kids camp, thinking about who we're bringing in to help with things and stuff. And I mean, but God's got it.
Yeah, he does, man. And I mean, I guess these are just normal emotional things that you're going to go through as the weeks go on. But I mean, even leaving, I leave tomorrow night. Yeah.
It's like, Normally for a trip, you're really excited.
Yeah.
And there's part of me that is, and there's part of me that's like apprehensive.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
well, you got a good team that's ready to hit the ground and do great things, man. So it'll be good. So as the church has grown through the 6 years that that we've been here, what do you think as a pastor or your leadership? Was there any kind of transitions of your style of leadership or teaching or anything? Did things shift over a period of time? Yeah,
I mean, I think my main communication style before coming here was teaching in a classroom, so that shifts. I mean, obviously, I think leadership. I think I watch a portion of the message that I preach every week. I watch it or listen to it on podcasts to get better. Like, so there's things that I like tear myself apart with, and that can get better for sure. So I think about that a lot. I'm excited to leave and think about that a little bit. But I mean, like preaching the word and like deep study and that hasn't changed at all. And won't. Leadership style. Yeah. You go from like wearing every single hat to, there's things that happen now that I don't know the details of. Yeah. That I don't like. I was leading host team. I was leading hospitality team. I was leading preaching team. The only thing I didn't do from the beginning is really worship. Even sometimes I'd run sound. Yeah. I'd make my own slides. Kids Rock, like I didn't do anything in there. We had leaders in there from the very beginning. But, I think what you go from is a doing style of leadership to a disciple style of leadership. Right. To where, so I was Jeff Bezos this morning, this thing popped up and he talked about like high level executives at Amazon. And he said, you're paying leaders to make very few decisions, but they are pivotal decisions about the future. Mm-hmm. So they're not making 1,000 decisions a day. They're making like big decisions where it's like maybe one a month or, but they're mulling over these things. I think I'm starting to see that transition in our leadership, in my leadership specifically, that I'm not making, I talk to you about this all the time. Like, hey, can you make that decision? Or, once you make that decision, can you let me know what happened? Yeah. Not that I don't want to be involved, but like you want to know what's going on. Yeah. Where Bedrock is heading. Yeah. Is taking a lot of prayer, like strategic thinking, that is where I'm spending, I think, more of my time than I had in the past. Yep. But I don't want to lose pastoring. Right. As in like sitting one-on-one with people. We led a young adults group on Tuesday night this week. I still want to do stuff like that. So I don't want to become isolated, like in an ivory tower where I just study the Bible and then you see me show up and I tell you what happened and then I go away again. Yeah. That's not who I am, and that's not really what I want to do. So I think what we're discovering right now is I am being removed in a good way from more day-to-day minor decisions to where I'm more focused on now preaching and teaching, vision, true discipleship, and vision for where we're headed. That's the biggest shift. When you first start, you got to do everything, man. Yeah. Everything. Yeah. So that's a big shift. And it's hard to take yourself out of things because, like, honestly, there's things that you do that I wouldn't, or there's ways that you go about things that I wouldn't do that, but I got to just trust that you're equipped and called to do that. And even if it's not the way that I would do it, we all want the end result to be the same here. Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's such a crude phrase. There's more than one way to skin a cat. I don't know how that started. I'd love to hear the history. I know, right? Of like how that became a phrase. Yeah, skinning cats. That's weird. But yeah, that's true. And so I got to trust in the leaders that God's put around us and let you guys do things that are different. Yeah, it's fun, man. It's good, and it's encouraging to be able to see you shift and focus on those other things. We've had some good conversations in the past and just building up of just
because we talk about the future of Bedrock and where Bedrock's going. I mean, we just had a bunch of changes happen just, last week. You know, we went from, one 9:15 service to now we're at 2 services at 8:45 and 11:15, and so much going on in between.
It's awesome,
and we're still building that. You know, and it's exciting to be a part of it, but what I meant in all of that, it's encouraging to be able to see you focus on the bigger things and not the smaller things. Yeah. And when I mean smaller things, it's the smaller details that you don't have to worry about that are getting done because you have strong leadership under you.
Yeah, but they still matter.
Of course.
Those small details matter.
But they're not something that you have to sit on.
Well, I was noticing that I was like getting into what's called like decision fatigue.
Yeah.
Where it's like we would host a women's event and I was making decisions about like that, and I'm like, why am I making decisions about this?
Yeah.
Not that like I don't care how a dwell event goes, but like I really don't think I should be making these decisions.
Like what tea they're gonna drink.
Yeah, like and it's not that I don't care. It's just hard to make. What color is this gonna be? What? Yeah. And then it's like and then you get to like what's important. Like not that those things aren't important, but like the one thing that I can do in the team that no one else can, and I'm exhausted when I get there. And it was like, oh man, we can't. This is not a sustainable way. To get where we're headed. So yeah.
So what do you think are some intentional things for the future of Bedrock? We've just made a big switch, and you might not even have that answer yet. It might be something that comes to you. We've been praying that. I know. Our family's been praying that as you go on, our life group's been praying too, that as you go on this sabbatical, that God speaks a fresh new word in you. So as you come back and just, it'll be exciting to see the outcome of it all.
I would anticipate that, like my feet will be on fire when I get back.
Oh, for sure.
I just do this is like very intentional and hard for me to shut all of this off.
Yeah.
And that's part of the reason we're going so far away is because I think I would be so tempted to be here and do things if, a mentor told me when we were going on this sabbatical, he's like, look, you planted 1 year before COVID, you're 6 years in, you started with 25 people, now you're up to, I don't know, I'd say we're a church between 500 and 600 people that would call Bedrock home.
Yep. Even if we add our online attendance.
Yeah, I have no idea. We're about 1,000.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
And if you're online and you're part of Bedrock and we want to get to know you better. So there's more coming there to help with that. So we don't want you just out there in Nowhereville. In fact, we had a girl 2-3 weeks ago when we did baptisms, drove from Gainesville, Florida.
Yep.
To come
part of
here
our online community.
To be part of baptism. That's awesome.
That's
awesome. But so we want to do better with that, stewardship with that. But I think the things that are going on here are amazing. But when I do believe when I get back, we know the direction we're heading. In general.
Yeah.
I am hoping and praying that we'll have more solidified direction. Concrete.
Right.
But do you want to get into some of that, or do you want to save that for later? We'll save how much of that do you want to talk about here?
We'll save that for later.
Okay. All right.
Unless you want to get into it.
No, man. I think Bedrock are people that want to reach people, and so there are strategies right now that are being implemented that are going to help us reach more people. And it's not because we're the only solution in our city. It's not because there aren't great churches in Sarasota and beyond. We're not here to compete with other churches.
Right.
We're here to be who we're called to be and to do the Great Commission work. And the Great Commission work is a multiplication growth work.
Right.
Right. That's what it is. And so we're trying to be faithful to that, the best that we can be faithful to that. And so, it's no secret. We want to plant more churches. We want to plant more locations. We want to raise up more church planters and pastors. We want to become what I would call a hub where other people are coming in and learning from what we're doing. We're learning from them. Yep. But man, we want to be a church that is investing in the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
And so we're growing more of a teaching team that's being developed. but I would say like bedrockers, people that would call Bedrock home.
Yep.
Like, I think they're in on this.
Oh, for sure.
And so I think when we announce like, hey, we're launching this location here, or we're launching the service, or we're planting this church here, or whatever it may be, I really believe our church has caught this vision and is going all in. Yeah. And so, the future's bright.
Oh, it's very bright and exciting. So we're going to wind down here.
Cody just flashed a sign to me, 50 minutes. So
50?
Yeah, the thing is if you put us together, we could probably be here for
a while.
Hours.
Yeah. So let's do this real quick. I just want to know, how is Kelsey preparing? How is she feeling about leaving? And is she still got that?
I think we're both excited. I think there's we're getting into the little details of things like, we got to book this train from here to here, or I was thinking about should I bring toothpaste or just buy toothpaste when I get there? Because it's 6 weeks. It's longer than, I'll just go buy a little tube of toothpaste from Target. It's stuff like that we're just, I think, trying to figure out. I think we're ready to get on the plane.
And go.
And figure it out.
You've been talking about it for so long. The planning is over. It's like...
Yeah, what happens, happens. You know? But no, man, God has blessed us with some opportunity. There's people who have given us free homes.
That's awesome.
I think people need to know, Bedrock is not paying for all of this. The benefit that we have is they've given us the opportunity to go on this. Yeah. And they've helped with some things, but this is not funded by the church. It's they've helped in some areas, but majority of it's people opening their homes. I mean, there's a member of our church that their parents are letting us live in their main house that they live in for 2 weeks. And they're awesome. Going to live at their brother's house, and because the brother's living somewhere else, right? So it's like musical chairs of homes.
No kidding.
But just someone open. I mean, that's a big deal. That's huge. Open your house up to a family. And my kids are crazy. We're gonna take pictures and make sure everything looks the way it should when we leave. But to open up your home for us for 2 weeks, I mean, that's just a godsend. That's awesome. So shout out to the Burrows. That's crazy. Yeah. But that's how this all came together.
That's awesome. All right, we're going to do a quick speed round.
Lightning
round.
Cody, can you put in some kind of lightning at that point? Something great, okay?
All right, so what book other than the Bible are you currently reading?
I am going to be reading Mere Christianity again when I'm over there. But that's what's coming right now. All so right. I to be honest, I've been so tired I haven't been reading much lately.
Gotcha.
I've been focusing on sermons.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee. But I like tea.
How do you take the coffee?
Black.
And
that happened because I went on keto. I went on keto and I'm lactose intolerant.
Really?
Yeah, I'm lactose intolerant.
I've tried to do the black coffee. I can't do it. It's just...
Yeah, so I'm lactose intolerant. So that was all right, I already can't have milk. And then keto, you can't really have sugar. So I was and I don't like what's that called? The pink packet?
The fake, like the sweetened.
I don't like the flavor. So it just happened by accident. Not because I was trying to be tough. It's what happened.
So if you were not Pastor Blake, what would you be doing with your life?
I don't know. I'd probably start a business.
Okay.
I don't know what it would be in. But when you're a church planter, you're entrepreneurial. So that's where I would see myself. Yeah.
So the title pastor, what do you think that most people that look at that position, what do you think they're most not understanding about?
We're just normal people.
Just normal people. There's nothing special about you, right?
No, I mean,
you put your pants on just like me.
I do. Actually, I don't put my pants on one leg at a time. I jump in the air and put both legs in at the same time.
There you go.
No. I mean, we have a unique position and a unique role and judged to a higher standard for sure.
Yeah.
But our kids rebel. Our kids misbehave. We don't get everything right. We make mistakes. There's now, I think the valleys and the mountaintops in my life have changed to where it's a little bit more smooth. But there's moments and seasons where we're on spiritual highs and moments and seasons where we have to just do the work.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just going to read we were talking at the gym yesterday and I told you the last few weeks at the gym have just been I don't want to go here.
Yeah.
But it's like just showing up and doing it.
Right.
Same thing spiritually for pastors. We aren't judging you. I mean, maybe some pastors are, but I think a lot of people, like, I'll be on a plane and they're cussing and, just being normal.
Yeah.
And which doesn't bother me. And then they're like, what do you do for a living? I'm like, I'm a pastor. And then they're like, oh my goodness.
I'm so sorry.
And I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. Whatever. So I think those are the kind of things that, like, maybe people don't think we deal with, or that our life is perfect.
Yeah.
It's not. We struggle, stuff like that.
Last question.
Yeah.
I would say the most recent sermons that you've preached.
Okay. Exodus series? Or
no,
Easter?
just, I would say in the last 8 months to 6. We'll say last year. The last year of all the messages that you've prepped and teached and studied and prepared. Is there one that specifically really personally just kind of set with you? I
got to think through. Like, year's a long time.
Well, I mean, you can't go Exodus.
I think the Exodus series was good. I mean, dealing with, like, God's freedom and us, that I think is huge. I'm trying to go, like, Cody, can you name some series we went through? It's every week. It's like every week you write a chapter of a book.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for what's coming. Mental health series on Acts.
Yeah.
Is there a message that stuck out to you in particular?
No, I'm the interviewer, not.
Okay.
Cody, can you tell us about that?
I mean, I think there's messages that have in the past impacted me, like He's in the Boat.
Yeah.
God and Ghosts. I mean, that message has really impacted me. There was a message I did. We talked about Church Hurt series, deconstruction stuff. That was a really good series.
Yeah. You don't have to go through them all. I was just more curious if there's
one analogy that helped me.
Go ahead.
That God gave me that I think
Share
was subtraction by addition.
Okay.
So there was a sermon that I did. I don't even know. Maybe that's the name of the sermon. I don't know. But I put a jar of water on the table.
Yes.
Filled it to the top.
Yep.
And that represented sin and just things in your life that need to come out. And I think what we all try to do is just, like, pull the bad stuff out of our life. And what the analogy was and the focus of the message is it's not so much pulling things out of your life, but adding the right things in. Okay. So we took rocks, I think, or tennis balls, something, and oranges. It was oranges and stuff like that. And what we did is, as you put the right things in your life, the things that shouldn't be there flow out.
Yeah.
And so what we said is life is more about subtraction by addition, because we want to focus more on what we want to add into our life, what God's calling us to put into our life, like reading the word, praying, being in groups, serving, giving, like those kinds of things, rather than always focusing about what needs to come out of it.
Right.
And so that to me was a big shift in my mind.
That is good, man.
That was a big
shift. I remember that one. I do remember
that was big.
Yeah, it's good. Well, listen, man, I appreciate you taking the time just to hang out and talk.
Absolutely.
Listen, we are so excited for you and the fam, man, and we're praying for you, and just we're excited for what's going to come afterwards. I know that you're going to come back and you're going to be on fire, ready to roll.
Yeah,
it's going to be exciting. So a lot of good things coming down in the future, man. So listen, I pray that you guys get to rest and relax and enjoy your time together as a family. But if you have not been to Bedrock and would like to attend our services in person, we have 2 services on Sunday, one at 8:45 and our second at 11:15 here at 2035 Magnolia Street in Sarasota. We would love to see you. We would love to meet you in person. If you do watch online, we'd love to have you come and be with us. So
I hope I get to meet a bunch of new faces when we come back.
I do too, man. I do too. Anyways, thank you, man, and we'll see you soon.
Love you.
Thanks. Love you, bro.